Pandora is a personalized internet radio service. Our mission is to play only music that you love. As soon as you lean in and start to give us feedback, one with a thumbs up and a thumbs down, your station becomes truly your own and personalized to your own tastes. My name's Tom Conrad. I'm the CTO and the head of product here at Pandora. Atlassian and JIRA have been, part of the story of Pandora from the very, very beginning. We have over 200 million registered users. I think more than 70 million listened last month. In addition to building software for consumers, we're building thousands of advertising campaigns simultaneously for our advertisers.
My name's Lauren Nagel, and I am the Audio Creative Operations Manager. We manage our entire workflow through JIRA. So that means that we actually use JIRA to get the work from advertising operations to my team. The culture at Pandora is, I think, at its core collaborative and innovative. You've got a ton of different teams all working towards the same goal, to bring music into the lives of people, to help them discover music that they love.
So it's not just, a team of software developers sitting in a dark room drinking Mountain Dew and, getting a tan with the light of their LCD monitor. Today, it's this collaboration between marketing and sales and customer service and creative services that all has to kind of come together at one perfect moment to deliver just the right software.
We're using JIRA issues to assign to our producers so that the producers are producing the ads. It's how we actually deliver our ads back to the campaign managers. It's how we deliver ads to our trafficking teams.
I think the advertiser benefits just because our workflow is more streamlined and we have a record of everything and our communication is so much clearer with JIRA. My name is Liz Lazish. The first thing I do when I come in the morning is look at my email, and I'm looking for all of the new JIRA notifications for issues that have been created in our project group. And I'll assign tickets to myself and just start reviewing tasks, communicating with campaign managers through JIRA before I assign the ticket to a designer. Coming into learning JIRA from nothing was so easy. It's so intuitive.
For us, job number one is delivering great new innovative features for our listeners, week after week, month after month, year after year. And to do that with the kind of consistency that we found over the years, it really requires great collaboration tools.
A world without JIRA at Pandora would be absolute chaos. It would be absolute chaos.
Kickseye is an online gaming company that builds kick-ass games here in San Francisco, California.
We started using JIRA because our previous solution just simply was not dialed into project management at all. It was a strictly QA solution.
We ended up having people spending more time futzing with the software than actually building the games.
We needed something that could be consistent across the studio for both QA needs and project management, and yet be flexible enough for every team to use in its own way.
As a product manager, the way I use it most often is to help communicate priority. For Battle Pirates specifically, being a live product, we have a lot of competing priorities, fixing bugs, keeping the players interested, and then working on a long-term roadmap. This keeps all that information in one place and makes it really easy to organize and communicate that.
JIRA helps me make better products here at Kickseye by getting out of the way. I live in JIRA. My team does not, and that's exactly how it should be. I don't want my engineers spending their day working through admin tasks. I want them building a great game. So while they're able to just concentrate 99% of their day on writing good code and testing that out, all they have to do is go to a very specific view in the Rapid board, and they can just quickly and instantly update their tasks, reassign them, grab tasks, redo their estimates. Whatever they need to do, it's very easy, very quick for them.
My favorite part of it is the customizable dashboards, so you can really help people discover what work is the most important to be working on.
I've been able to create all my own dashboards and filters so I can display all the information that's pertinent to me and my team.
It's flexible, so it's as simple as we want it to be or as complex as we want it to be. So we can integrate it with third-party applications or collaboration solutions or others that we use here at the company.
We actually run one of our stand-ups each day using an iPad and a TV where we just pass the iPad around and people can just move their tasks in JIRA right across with their finger. The whole team's up to date at once and we're all aligned.
Using JIRA has been measurably faster than our previous solution, that we are able to spend less time in JIRA by just having everything be really clear and concise and well organized.
And so you need to constantly be pushing things out faster and faster, and it needs to be at a high bar of quality. And JIRA just helps us hit that bar and the time frame that we need to on a consistent basis.
Summary of today is introduction to a lot of great stuff. You're here in part because you're using our software to help your teams achieve incredible results and to change the world.
Really what I think is the most important thing is what we take away from Summit and what we hear from customers and having that direct human interaction.
And I'm really excited because what we're going to show you today is going to change the way that your teams work together to make truly great software.
Which is why the theme of this year's Summit is Inside the Team. We introduced a number of new collaboration products, Confluence questions.
And what it allows you to do is extract the tribal knowledge in your organization, retain that knowledge when employees leave. It allows you to identify experts amongst your organization on particular topics.
JIRA Service Desk,
which is a application that runs on top of JIRA specifically for IT teams to build them a really kick-ass service desk with the simple goal of helping them go home earlier.
And then tip chat, video.
Hey!
It's always interesting to find out, what's new with Atlassian. We're heavily invested with you guys' products, so it's nice to see what's the latest.
There's lots of different ways you can use their tools, and a lot of times we're not using them the best way that we can, and sometimes just seeing them demo that kind of gives us ideas of how we can take that back and improve the tools we already have.
We get to have great conversations and get feedback and draw people in to be our partners and customers.
We've got 5 tracks. They're mixtures of Atlassians and our customers, and all of them are devised to have takeaways for you to go right back to your office and be better.
I hope people take away from Summit, fresh ideas about how to use our tools, ideas about how to run their teams and their companies, not even necessarily tool related, but people ideas, process ideas. We have such an awesome customer community. It's just got an awesome energy to it, so I want them to take that energy back to their teams and hopefully get it to last them through the year.
All the way from Manly Beach in Sydney, Australia, our very own Texan Ironman and business manager for the JIRA family, Bryan Rollins.
All right, Matt Hodges, I'm going to find you after this. I owe you for that introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm Bryan Rollins, and I'm the JIRA Business Manager, which means that I'm responsible for the JIRA family across engineering, product management, and marketing. And it's always exciting to give the JIRA State of the Union at Summit. This is definitely my favorite time of year at Atlassian, and you're the entire reason why. Getting to talk to so many of you yesterday and hear what you're doing with JIRA, hear your feedback, it's just absolutely fantastic. Now, how many of you had a really good time last night at the Summit Bash? Awesome, awesome. Now, I saw a bunch of you come in this morning, so I have to ask a second question, which is, how many of you had too much of a good time last night at the Summit Bash? Yeah, okay. Well, I figure if you're here, you're on time, you had too much of a good time, and you can still raise one of your arms, I think you're doing pretty well. So now, some of you might not actually recognize me from some of the photos we've used in our events in the past. So this year at Road Trip, you could have come to meet the, let's see, a little shaky statement. Got a little shake on the video. Anyway, you could have come to meet the slightly gray and angry-looking Bryan. I'm usually a really happy guy. I'm not sure what happened in this photo. Many of you might have come to Summit this year to actually get to meet the orange Bryan. And then in another case, there was the slightly weathered, jet-lagged, maybe hungover Bryan. On weekends, I look completely different. You can kind of see the Atlassian jersey. And then there's in a donkey suit wearing a skirt and carrying a briefcase, which is just pretty, I can't actually explain that one at all. But as different as I look in each one of these photos, well, JIRA is really different than it was last year at this time at Summit. And there are so many reasons why. But one of the main reasons why is actually you. So your feedback, your participation in early access programs, all the things that you've done, making the JIRA community and the Atlassian community better and better, you're a big part of why all these changes have happened. One of the big changes, of course, is the addition of a new member to the JIRA family, which is JIRA Service Desk, an incredibly exciting offering that we think IT and service desk teams are absolutely going to love. And we've rebranded our JIRA Add-Ons, JIRA Agile and Greenhopper into JIRA Agile, and then, of course, Bonfire into JIRA Capture. It makes it easier for new customers to understand our product suite, and it makes it very clear that Agile and Capture, well, they're part of the JIRA family. So, your community has also grown. Last time I spoke to you, there were 14,000 customers in the JIRA family, and now we're at over 22,000 customers. And that doesn't even include the tens of thousands of $10 starter licenses that we provide to so many organizations and companies out there. And a lot of you, well, you've been really busy. I talked to a couple of you yesterday who've built add-ons for your own internal organization. And then, of course, a lot of you have been busy building add-ons for the Atlassian Marketplace. And now there are over 700 add-ons just for JIRA in the Atlassian Marketplace. And over 8 million users. Well, the actual number is probably well over 10 million, but 8 million is the number that we can certify. Now, that's actually 12 times larger than the entire population of my home state of Alaska, not counting bears and moose. This would actually make JIRA the 13th largest state in the US. So it's awesome to have a big family. Now, you're here in this room actually representing the users in your organization that help make up this number. And each of those users, well, they're part of a team. And, as you know, teams are the focus of this year's summit. So today, I want to spend our time talking about JIRA and, no surprise, teams. So, the most significant event of my life actually involved a team that, well, I never got to meet. 8 years, 9 months, and 17 days ago, I received a kidney transplant from my cousin. I met the surgeon. I briefly met the anesthesiologist before I went under. But for the next 6 hours, my life was in the hands of a team that I'd never met. And during that 6 hours, they changed my life. That team behind the scenes, they gave me a second chance at life. Well, yesterday you got to see some amazing stories of companies like Tesla and Cochlear, who are changing every life on the planet through software. And that's why in JIRA, we want to find a way to make your teams better, because we know the impact that your teams can have. Now, JIRA is used by a lot of different teams and a lot of different organizations. When we started out on JIRA over 10 years ago, our focus was trying to help software teams track their work better in order to build better software. And 10 years later, we're still very much on that mission. So how can we supercharge software teams? How can we make software teams better day in and day out? Well, it's by focusing on those key activities that every team has to do as a part of every iteration, as a part of every milestone. Software teams, well, they need to plan effectively. They need to be able to plan not just for the short term, but for the long term as well. Software teams need to work. They need to work effectively and efficiently, and continuing to deliver products at an incredibly high level of quality. And software teams need to be able to report, or probably more accurately, to reflect on what they've just accomplished, not only for improvement, but also sometimes just to celebrate what we've accomplished as well. Now, planning in software, it's dramatically changed. as iterations and milestones have gotten shorter and shorter, it forces some activities, like planning, to become much, much, much more efficient. You can't spend a month planning an iteration if your iteration is only a week or two long. Now, if you're in the room today and you're a JIRA customer, there's actually a 90% chance that you actually use JIRA Agile today. And we've done a lot in JIRA Agile specifically to help teams improve planning and make planning easier. So as you saw in yesterday's keynote, you can actually start your planning process from inside of Confluence. So you can start with a page of ideas and then instantly create a backlog in Confluence. Sorry, a backlog in JIRA Agile. So you can kickstart your planning process right from Confluence. Now, we've made a lot of improvements in JIRA Agile to sprint planning. But one of the keys to effective sprint planning is actually already having an organized backlog. And a lot of Agile teams, well, they use epics to create their backlogs, to be able to create a long-term high-level plan. So in JIRA Agile, you can start your top-down planning process by creating a series of epics, and then take that top-down planning process further by creating stories underneath those epics, which automatically then link those stories to the epic they belong to. And we've tried to make it very obvious how stories relate back to epics so that each epic has an individual unique color that you can clearly see in the backlog. So you can kickstart your high-level planning process in JIRA Agile as well through the use of epics. But a lot of teams, they don't start with a blank slate. They start with a long, unorganized backlog. And they need to organize that backlog into epics. Well, you can do that in JIRA Agile as well. So you can just easily drag an individual story into an epic. You can drag a collection of stories at epics. And really quickly, you can actually assemble a well-organized backlog. Now, this gives your team the visibility of not only what are they working on for the next sprint, but as they look over a backlog, they get an idea of the work that's ahead. They get an idea of the epics that may be ahead. It also gives people outside your organization, development managers, project managers, or any outsiders, the ability to get a glimpse of both what's on the short and on the long-term plan for your team. You can also use epics to actually visibly see progress towards a particular theme or epic. So on the Agile board, you clearly see how much progress you've made towards completing an epic. And if you roll over, it actually gives you more details around the percentage and how many story points you may have completed and how many story points you may have remaining. And epics, you can filter by an epic so you can quickly reprioritize. If we want to get everything done from our local Mars office epic, we can simply filter by that epic, drag all of those stories into the current sprint, and now we've reprioritized our entire backlog quickly and easily using epics. So this lets your team plan and react to changes in planning quickly and effectively. Now, while epics are often used as just a general container for a set of stories, a version in JIRA, as many of you know, is often oriented around a release or a milestone, typically with a particular ship date or a delivery point in mind. So we wanted to let you do 100% of your release planning in JIRA Agile as well. So you can now create versions in JIRA Agile right from the planning board. As you create those versions, you can provide all the important details like a start and an end date. And then, of course, you can begin to organize your backlog around your plans for particular releases. Again, this lets you organize it easily, but also lets you give those outside parties clear visibility into your release plans. So at any point in time, I can tell exactly what's planned and exactly which stories are planned for which particular release. And again, we've made it visually obvious how the association between a version and a story, so you can see that right in every sprint and in every part of the backlog. And similarly, you can also see how much progress you're making towards a version in JIRA Agile. You can also use it to quickly replan your releases. So let's say in our backlog here that I want to get everything in our version 2.0 release done before the end of the second sprint. Well, I actually have items in my backlog for version 2.0 that aren't in the current sprint. And I could reprioritize the existing sprints and move stories out to make room for those. But I've decided we're going to ship as is, and I'll simply move those stories in the backlog onto the next release. So in one simple action, I've replanned my releases. So it makes it easy to reprioritize and react quickly to changes in your plans in JIRA Agile as well. Now, we did all of this while still maintaining the flexibility of a sprint. In many cases, a lot of teams, they'll work on multiple epics at once. So a sprint can contain stories from multiple epics. In fact, a lot of teams actually use long-running epics to represent things like performance enhancements or usability improvements. And so a sprint may actually contain stories for one or more of these long-running epics. The same thing applies to versions. You'll often have teams who are working on maybe a bug fix release, a feature release, or maybe even a beta release, all in parallel. So a sprint can actually contain stories from multiple versions as well. This flexibility is really important as you want to manage your planning process the way that you want. So now that essentially what this allows us to do is plan at speed. You want to be able to take in all the information from the outside world. You want to spend your time thinking, analyzing, researching. You don't want to spend time actually constructing your plan and having to work on the process to actually build the plan. And that's what we're trying to do in JIRA Agile, is make that planning process as simple as possible. So now you can really plan about as fast as you think. And if your planning isn't this fast, maybe it's time to make some changes. So now that our planning process is humming, it's time to start working on the tasks and the subtasks at hand. Well, what do software teams need to work effectively and efficiently? Well, they need great integration with source code controls. They need the capability to actually have clear visibility of their work in progress. And they actually need a way to actually focus on what we just planned while still dealing with tons of potential interruptions from the outside world. So in the keynote yesterday, you got to see some of the great integration between JIRA and our suite of development tools. So as soon as I'm a developer who's been assigned a story in JIRA, I can immediately start work and create a feature branch just for that story in Bitbucket or Stash. And that feature branch is automatically linked back into my JIRA issue, along with any subsequent pull requests that I may create. And then at the end of that process, whether it's my final commit into my branch or whether I've accepted those final pull requests into the branch, I can then transition that issue without ever leaving Stash or Bitbucket, and JIRA's automatically updated, my development manager's happy, my wallboard's updated, and everything's going as planned. But the reality is, not everything always goes as planned. In software, you've got to learn to deal with challenges. You've got to learn to deal with curveballs. Or as I've learned in my 3 years in Australia, you've got to learn to deal with a sticky wicket, mate. Someday I'll actually understand what that means, but I know it's challenging. So that's why Greenhopper introduced the concept of flagging. Now, what's your definition of flagging? Maybe it means that you're waiting on a critical decision from a product owner before progressing forward. Maybe you've reached a fork in the road where you need feedback from a customer before you can move on. Maybe your regression test for this particular story needs some love and repair before you can actually validate and declare success in this particular story. Well, we've made it visually obvious in JIRA Agile, both in work and in planning mode, when a story is flagged. And we've made it even more obvious in wallboards. You can't walk by a JIRA wallboard without a flagged issue leaping out at you. And this is to rally the team to attract the attention to this story that needs to be unblocked so the team can continue to move on and be successful in this particular iteration. Now, another piece of reality that software teams have to deal with is, despite our focused collaborative team effort, the outside world, well, it's always just a step away. Now, a lot of you, in fact, several of you who I talked to yesterday, you use JIRA as your public feature request system and your public issue tracker for your software project. And that means you're getting critical bugs raised by customers. You're getting new requirements coming in all the time. And even though you may have defined a 1 or 2 week focused effort of work, you're dealing with this stream or storm of outside feedback. So how do you handle this? You want to find a way where you can still execute in a focused manner while still handling this potential torrent of external requests. Well, a lot of companies actually use a triage process just for this, to categorize and to essentially collect and decide on what they're going to do with all of those outside inputs. And in JIRA 6, we've made the triage process much, much, much better. So here, first, I'm going to search for the issues that I need to triage. So I'm going to look for all of the issues in our project that don't have a fixed version and which are unresolved. The new issue navigator design makes that much, much easier. And so here, I'm simply going to select the fixed version field, and I'll select all the issues which don't have a fixed version. It's pretty quick and pretty simple. Search is much, much better. But if you're doing a lot of search and you're doing triage on a pretty regular basis, we took a step further. You can now drive search criteria from the keyboard. So by pressing the period key, we open what we call our dot dialog, and you actually type in the name of any field in JIRA and add that to your search criteria. Again, then filtering the entire result list by the field and then the criteria that you've just added. So we've made search better not just for basic users, but for advanced users as well. Now, triage often involves actually making changes to a set of issues. You're going to be labeling issues, you're going to be resolving issues, you may be transitioning issues to other states, you may be assigning issues. And we actually designed detailed view just for that particular purpose. So detailed view allows you to see both the list of issues and the full details of an individual issue at the same time. Now I'm also going to expand my canvas, so I'm going to hide the left-hand side and hide the filters so I get as much real estate as possible. So I can just focus on my list and the individual issues that I want to triage. And all the great benefits that we built into JIRA 5.1 of inline edit within the view issue page, hey, they're available in detailed view as well. So I can perform all these actions without needing a page reload and getting immediate feedback from JIRA. So I can assign an issue to myself, I could comment on an issue and mention a colleague to bring them into the conversation or ask them what they think about this particular issue and whether we need to react to it immediately. But again, we've taken a next step and allowed you to drive triage entirely from the keyboard. Just like in list view, you can move to the next issue by using the J key. But then I can use the dot dialog to jump to edit any field in JIRA. So in this case, the fixed version field. So just the period and FIX, and I'm immediately jumped to the fixed version field. I can edit it there right away. When I joined JIRA 3 years ago, our triage sessions used to take us about 3 times as long. I don't think we're 3 times as smart as we were 3 years ago. I think it's our use of JIRA that's improved, and the improvements of JIRA have actually made all of that possible. So triage, much more effective in JIRA than ever before. And continuing on with our keyboard goodness, I now want to look at the overall list again, so I'll just press the T key to toggle back between detailed view and list view. I'll even unhide the left-hand navigation panel using the bracket key. And now I'm looking at our list again. Well, I'm going to need to triage this list every week, so I want to save this as a filter. We've made saving filters so much easier in the new issue navigator. And I've decided I also want to see the reporter column in my triage list from now on. So I'm going to quickly add the reporter column to my filter. We've made it much easier to add new columns to your filter or to your default search view, or even if you're an administrator, the default system defaults for filters. And now, of course, since I'm up here presenting, I'm going to share this filter with a couple of colleagues so that they can finish my work so I can keep on talking. And in the end, I'm actually going to want to see this list on a pretty regular basis, maybe every Monday, so I know whether or not triage is going to cut into my lunch hour. So I'll subscribe to this filter so I get it sent in email on a weekly basis. We've made search and triage much, much better for teams in JIRA 6. So now that we've finished our milestone, we've finished our iteration, we've finished all of our stories, it's time to plunge blindly ahead into the next iteration without thinking about what we've done, right? Well, hopefully not. A big part of Agile is continuous innovation. But so few teams actually take the chance to actually look back and learn from what they've done, to actually use reports. And some of that is we don't have the data to actually make those decisions. And so our retrospectives, well, they degrade into arguments about, well, who paid for team lunch? And I don't like the fact that Brian plays Miley Cyrus during stand-up every day. But reporting used to be the realm of upper management for downward corrective action. But reporting is now the weapon of the team. It's a way for us to have self-improvement, to have self-actualization, and to actually improve cycle after cycle to get better. And we've done a lot to improve reporting in JIRA Agile. And that's been our mission, to help your teams improve iteration after iteration. So we've introduced a new burn down gadget for JIRA Agile, as well as a new sprint health gadget. So with both of these in your wallboards or your dashboards, you get an immediate view of how the current sprint is going. So add these to your dashboards and your wallboards. But we're about to embark on a journey, on a near-term mission that's just around the corner to change JIRA Agile reporting. And I want to give you a sneak peek of that today. So first, the new reports are beautiful. We've used the Atlassian design guidelines to actually change the look and the feel of the reports to make them more visually appealing. And we've even enhanced the Atlassian design guidelines as a result of our work. Second, the reports, well, they're easier to understand. I don't know about you, but even though control charts are an industry standard in Agile, the first time I saw any control chart, I wasn't exactly sure what it meant. And this is true for a lot of users. So we've actually introduced an explanation of how to use and how to take advantage of a report so your team, anyone who's first seeing a report for the first time, can understand what it's meant for. You know, similarly with burn down charts, if you were to show a burn down chart to someone in finance, you know, they're kind of used to revenue going up and to the right, and if they see it going down and to the right, it could actually scare them quite a bit. We don't like to scare our friends in finance more than a couple of times a month. So with every chart, we've provided the ability to understand the chart, and we've added consistent legends and navigation. So if you've used one chart in JIRA Agile, it's very easy to understand all the charts as well. And finally, the reports are much more powerful. We've introduced the concept of clustering and grouping in so many of the reports. So for instance, in the version report here or in Epic reports, you actually get issues that are grouped by sprint. So you can see your progress sprint over sprint over sprint. And in the sprint report, the stories are actually grouped rather than just by story, you can see them by day. So your team sees the progress as you move towards your 1 or 2 week sprint. Secondly, we're actually introducing the Scrum tactic of showing scope change below the baseline. So this lets you know, hey, did that scope change actually impact our delivery date? So it gives you an accurate view of how that's affecting your team's performance. Another key piece of Agile reporting is actually understanding accuracy and its relationship to unestimated issues. So if you have a really high percentage of issues and stories that are unestimated, that actually means the accuracy, both of your past performance and your ability to predict the future, is low. And so it's important in all reports to call out how much accuracy you have based on how many issues actually have estimates. And finally, predictions. So using your past data around velocity and performance, sprint over sprint, the new reports provide an ability to predict velocity and even show you when the expected crossover point with a version or an epic would be in the future and when you'll actually complete those milestones. Along with predictions, the velocity report goes a step further. It provides not only a prediction of velocity, but it even provides a range prediction of what you might expect given past behavior. So with these tools and capabilities, it gives you a lot more power to plan and think about risk for your team in the future. So beautiful, easier to understand, and powerful, and great for your team. And you know, actually not so bad for showing to upper management as well if you need to. But again, we're making these changes because we want to give the team the ability to reflect, to cycle, to iterate, and get better iteration after iteration. So what are you going to do with these new reports? Use them in stand-ups? Put them on your wallboards? Maybe it's where you start every day. So we've helped software teams plan effectively for the short and the long term. We're helping software teams work efficiently again, to deliver high quality and improve velocity and deliver more customer value. And a report so that we can see things better for the future. It's software teams that actually made Atlassian who we are today, and we're really excited about the 10 years of working together, and we're excited about the next 10. So as software teams have been successful with JIRA, JIRA has spread to other teams in the organization as well. And yesterday, you heard about our exciting new offering of JIRA Service Desk. And so how can we help these service desk teams? How can we supercharge these service desk teams? Well, it's interesting that, if you actually look, a lot of service desk and IT and software teams, they're actually all very similar. They have to have strong technical capabilities. They always have more work than they know what to do with. And they can't simply keep doing the same things they did yesterday, tomorrow. Now, it turns out that a lot of JIRA customers already use JIRA as a service desk. In fact, thousands and thousands of customers are already using JIRA as a service desk today. We got to talk to a lot of those customers about how their service desk teams use JIRA. And they actually use JIRA in quite a different manner than software teams. Now, how many of you yesterday got to hear Shihab's talk in the room 5 around the service desk deep dive? Awesome, fantastic. For those of you who missed it, I definitely recommend getting to watch that when the recording is available, because he did an amazing job giving you the ins and outs of all the possibilities with Service Desk. Today, I mostly just want to talk about what we heard around service desk teams and what a service desk team needs to be successful and how we specifically met those challenges inside of JIRA. So first, service desk teams, well, they need to capture the requests from their customers or their end users. And so as a result, we focused on making sure that you can deliver the end user experience that you want in JIRA Service Desk, that it's stated in the end user or customer's own language. Because if your experience trying to get access to a system or ask for laptop repair, if that starts in frustration, well, the process only goes downhill from there. Second, service desk teams told us that they want to make sure that they're focused on the most important work at any particular period of time. And so we introduced priority queues with the ability for a service desk team to actually prioritize the work the way that they want. It's not our definition of priority, it's the team's definition of priority. And those service desk teams that actually stood out, that were sort of the gold star service desk teams, all of them told us they use SLAs. So not only do they understand the priority of what they're working on, but they understand the explicit expectation of when they're supposed to deliver results. Now, SLAs, because of that feedback, are one of the strongest parts of JIRA Service Desk. It's also one of the reasons that we acquired Vertigo SLA, a plugin by Valiantis that's one of the leading marketplace add-ons. And that, plus the additional work around visualization, plus the additional work around reporting, is why SLAs really shine inside of JIRA Service Desk. And that visibility is important not only in the priority queues, but it's important in the view of the issue itself. It needs to be always present. And at the end in reporting, understanding whether or not you're meeting SLA expectations is one of the most important things a service desk team can concentrate on. And they told us they want to see that in reports, and they want clear answers on whether or not they're meeting those customer expectations day in, day out, week in, week out. And of course, service desk teams like reports the same way software teams do, but their reports tend to actually be different. Service desk teams told us that cycle time and timing is one of the most important critical parts of how they view their life. And so as a result, a vast majority of the out-of-the-box reports and the reports that you can configure have to do with time to response, time to first response, time to overall resolution. And so those are the things that are absolutely critical for those service desk teams. And finally, service desk teams, wow, they're always busy. But they're also interested in continuous improvement. They want to get better time after time. And so if they know patterns in tickets that they're answering that they believe they could solve once and for all, they don't want to see any of those tickets ever again. And so the ability to actually incorporate knowledge base so that customers can then self-serve and actually see answers to their questions before they even finish asking them is incredibly powerful. And for me, what's even more exciting is that knowledge base is Confluence. So it's not just text, it's the ability to create rich, relevant content that specifically could solve that user's problem and prevent them from even having to file a ticket in the first place. And finally, service desk teams told us, hey, Brian, we never get a break. For service desk teams, there are no end of release parties. There are no lulls between big milestones. We're always on the go. And so as a result, they need to get started with JIRA Service Desk incredibly quickly. And so we've made it phenomenally easy for whether you're using JIRA today or you're new to JIRA to get started and build a service desk right out of the box, either on top of an existing or a brand new JIRA project. And if you'd like to know more, if you'd actually like to hear first person from one of our customers, well, we've made it incredibly easy for you today. You can actually stay in the seat that you're in right now, and Aaron from Good Software is actually going to tell you about how his team adopted Service Desk, what they've specifically done with it, and what it's done for their team. So just stick around and you'll hear some great things from Aaron, as well as a couple of the Atlassian Service Desk team as well. Our goal here has been to make your Service Desk team heroes, to make them shine. And we know if it makes them successful, it's going to make all the users in your organization successful and overall happier. And that's been our goal with JIRA Service Desk. And we can't wait to see what you do with it. So we've made software teams better at planning, working, and reporting. We've helped service test teams deliver to their end users. And there are lots of other teams using JIRA. So how did we accomplish all this? How did we build service desks so quickly? Well, the answer is the JIRA platform. So the same way that features that exist in Service Desk use those core capabilities of JIRA, it's the same way that those software features that we built use the same core capabilities of JIRA. So actually, what's in this platform that allows us to serve both of these audiences and others? Well, first is JQL. JQL is kind of a personal favorite of mine. JQL powers the Agile boards. It powers the quick filters in Agile boards. It powers the swim lanes in Agile boards. It powers the issue navigator. It powers priority queues. It powers SLAs. But the coolest thing about JQL is that it's your ability to configure it. It's not a behind-the-scenes technology buried deep inside of the platform. You have the ability to configure the board you want, the priority queue you want, the search you want, the swim lane you want. And of course, workflows. Workflows have always been at the core and the heart of JIRA. For service desk teams and software teams, yeah, the flow is different, but the mission's the same. I want to define a workflow that's efficient, effective, and matches what my team needs to do to be efficient and effective. And fields. For a service desk manager, I can use fields to define that end user experience that my customer wants. And if I'm a software team, I can now define it with all the fields that I need to track my work most effectively. There's a lot in the JIRA platform, and we're excited because we're making it even more powerful. So there are a lot of different definitions of platform in the world of software. There are architectural platforms, there are integration platforms, there are business platforms, there's platform as a service. So without going down the rabbit hole of the definition of a platform, I want to talk about why we built the platform or who we built the platform for. Well, one of the audiences and why we built the platform is actually for end users. One of the biggest changes in the experience of JIRA over the last year has certainly been the introduction of the Atlassian Design Guidelines. It gives JIRA a modern, efficient, and consistent feel. And what that means is if you're using JIRA with Confluence and Stash and Bamboo and the rest of the Atlassian suite, your experience is consistent and it's easier for a user to use all of our tools. Now next, we know that end users we're not always in the same place. We're often away from our desk now. We're on the go. We're outside the office, and we need to stay connected. And so we introduced a mobile interface for JIRA. Now, we built this specifically for the things that we realized our team members needed to do when they're on the go. So I can quickly see everything that's assigned to me. I know what's ahead of me at a glance in my day. If I'm on my phone and I get an email notification from JIRA, I can immediately click through that notification and see that issue in full detail. If I actually need to make a comment on an issue, maybe to pull in a colleague so that they actually understand the importance of an issue, and maybe they're coming on shift and I'm coming off shift, so I make sure that handoff occurs even when I'm on the train home. Or maybe I'm a service desk agent and I actually can see a customer's comment on the ticket that they that they issued the day before, and it gives me the ability to comment back in real time, even when I'm away from my desk. So all of these things we know make the experience not just for software developers, not just for service desk teams, but for all JIRA users better and better. And in the end, this makes our users more productive, more efficient, more successful, and as a result, happy. Now, how many of you here in the room today are actually JIRA administrators? You administrate a JIRA instance. Okay, lots of hands, especially in the front rows. JIRA administrators up front, right on. Well, the happiness or success of your end users actually affects our success as JIRA administrators and owners. So we care a lot about this. When we run into end users and we get to ask them, well, hey, what could we improve about JIRA? Sometimes we hear, well, JIRA requires 20 fields to be filled out on a form, or there are like 50 fields for this one particular issue type. So configuration can actually impact usability as well. So when you're making configuration changes in JIRA, you can actually impact that end user experience. So we're in this together. And together, more and more, we can make that end user experience better and better in JIRA. So second, now that we've mentioned administrators, well, the JIRA platform is certainly a platform for administrators. Now, workflow, as we've mentioned, has always been core to that platform. And, why would you create a workflow entirely from scratch when there are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of workflows that are already out there? So we introduced the capability to both import and export workflows from JIRA, what we call workflow sharing. And on the Atlassian marketplace, there are a lot of workflows out there, not just for software development teams, but for IT teams and even non-technical processes, like general task management or recruiting. And the great thing about workflow sharing is you can actually use it to export a workflow from your staging server and promote that into production. Pretty cool. Now, many of you, you're not creating your first workflow for the first time today. You're more than experienced. You may have hundreds of workflows in your JIRA instance, or potentially you have a handful of workflows that are actually shared by hundreds of projects in your JIRA instance. Now, we've had workflow drafts for a long time in JIRA where you could make changes and publish those. But if you wanted to change an active workflow scheme, you needed to copy that scheme, you needed to make the changes, maybe add an issue type or add a new workflow to it, and then reassociate it with the projects. Now, if you had a lot of projects associated with that workflow scheme, that could take a long time, even hours. So in JIRA 6, we introduced the concept of workflow scheme drafts, so you can easily make those changes and simply publish those changes, saving administrators hours and hours of time in updating workflow schemes. Now, over the last 2 years, at least 10 of you have come up to me personally about this one. So I'm really happy so that I can hear what the next thing we can take on is right after this talk. Now, we've made a number of changes to workflow. We've improved it again and again over and over the years, and it keeps getting better and better. In fact, in JIRA 4.4, we introduced a graphical workflow designer, and it was a huge jump forward over text mode. But we knew we could even do better. We knew we could even wow you. The new workflow designer in JIRA 6.1, first of all, you can expand it and use all the real estate you want to design your workflow. You can zoom and you can scroll to your heart's content. You can create new statuses in a flash. You can create them quickly. You can create new transitions quickly. You can remove transitions quickly. You can reassign transitions. You can redesign your diagram incredibly quickly. The diagram loads instantly. It saves instantly. And it's built entirely in HTML5, so that means there's no requirement for Flash. A lot of Flash fans in the audience today, I see. But the point is, we wanted to make it incredibly quick for you to be able to build the workflow design of your choice. And as always, with the workflow design, you see the details of whatever object you're editing on that right-hand side. So you can drill down to the post functions, transition conditions, anything you want. It's incredibly fast. How many of you have actually gotten to try this out since we released this just a week ago, maybe in on demand, a handful of you? I'm really excited about this. I love using it because I end up, we actually have a lot of workflows that even product managers and business managers use in JIRA. Now, of course, once you've published this new workflow, that transition and those new statuses that I've built are immediately available in the issue. But what's more is that view of the workflow that's available to the end user now matches pixel by pixel the workflow that you just designed, including highlighting the current the current status that you're on. This is in direct response to over 150 votes that you placed on jira.atlassian.com. So again, we're excited to make this happen. And here you can zoom and scroll as well to see the diagram in any amount of detail that you want. Now, administration gets even more interesting sometimes when we start to integrate it with the end user view of the world, such as in view issue. So if you've ever wanted to know why can't a particular user see this issue, well, that's why we built the permissions helper. So from view issue, you can choose the permissions helper, and it tells you exactly why a user can or cannot see this particular issue. Similarly, if you're trying to understand, why can't I see this particular notification, or why isn't this user receiving an email for a JIRA notification? That's what the notifications helper is for, and it tells you exactly what configuration is causing this user to receive or not receive that notification. And as well, why or why not am I seeing a particular field on an issue? Within Create or Edit, you can actually just ask the question, well, where's my field? And it will actually explain all the configuration that results in the visibility of that field within this issue. So you can quickly diagnose and jump right into making the changes you need to do to correct that configuration. And let's say you then want to add a number of fields to that issue. We've redesigned the screen designer in JIRA. It's incredibly easy to add new fields to a screen, remove fields, and reorder them via drag and drop. So again, screen editing, much, much easier in JIRA today. But in JIRA 6.1, we wanted to take it even a step further. We've shown you the ability to make configuration changes faster. We've shown you the ability to look at view issue and actually see the aspects of configuration that are affecting that issue. Well, in JIRA 6.1, we've actually allowed you to make configuration changes from view issue itself. So if you actually want to add a field to the issue you're looking at, and you're an administrator, you can both add a new field or add an existing field to this particular issue. Start the video. So just by choosing Add Field, let's say in this case, we actually want to add a team field to this particular issue because we want to track what team might have worked on this issue for reporting later on. We've made the field picker a lot easier, so picking your type of field, the more natural defaults are up front, and this is true for general administration as well. It also tells us how this change might affect other projects. So this might affect 10 or 20 projects. JIRA lets you know. And right away, then I can actually start configuring the options for this field. So I'm going through the full configuration process for this particular field. Now, since this is an outer space project, of course, our teams are Star Wars related. And I can go ahead and I can give the field a value right away. And then it appears immediately on this issue that I'm staring at. And it's a real field, so I can go ahead and edit it. I've always thought of myself more as a Jedi Knight than an Ewok anyway, so I'd like to correct that. So all this capability that we've built in for administrators, we believe that if we make administrators successful, then that's going to make your team successful. And that your success is tied to the success of your teams. And that's why we keep investing in administration for JIRA. So last, as all these teams are using JIRA, and we've gone from 1 team to 10 teams to hundreds of teams to software development teams and to service desk teams, well, that means the platform's going to need to scale. And that's a key reason why we've built the platform as well. So in JIRA 5.1 and in JIRA 5.2, we invested heavily in scale, increasing throughput in JIRA by over 40%, and by removing a number of those key performance bottlenecks that were critical areas of JIRA for end users and for administrators. And because of a lot of those performance improvements and the reduction in memory usage by JIRA, a lot of our customers saw benefits in high availability as well. But we went a step further, and we introduced background indexing in JIRA, so that you can actually re-index JIRA without even needing to take JIRA offline, without locking out end users. So again, great for not having to have a maintenance window, just to re-index JIRA. But scale and global scale are an important part of the JIRA platform as well. I wanted to highlight one small example of this, which is actually a recent 20% project by one of our developers, Trevor. And so he introduced the ability to internationalize custom fields in JIRA. And so now, if you have users in multiple languages, they can actually see all the aspects of a JIRA form, including custom fields, in their own native language. And finally, user management, we actually feel is really important to scale as well. The more users you have, the better capabilities you need around user management. And one of our long-term feature requests around user management is JIRA 1549, renaming users or the ability to change a username. Now, this was the second highest voted feature. This is the second highest voted feature of all time in JIRA. Had over 780 votes. But is that why we did it? Well, no. We wanted to make sure that celebrities had the right to rename themselves. So Stanley Martin Lieber can become Marvel hero Stan Lee. So that Muhammad Ali can become Cassius Clay. So that Mr. Van Varenberg can become JCVD. And, you know, Lawrence's mohawk, not nearly as intimidating as Mr. T's mohawk. So we resolved JIRA 1549 in JIRA 6.0, 786 votes. But we didn't stop there. We actually satisfied the original feature request. But in JIRA 6.1, we went further. Well, why did we go further? How many of you use JIRA with Active Directory or an LDAP directory? Exactly. You guys are the reason we went further. And so rename user is now supported with external LDAP directories like Active Directory. And even better, celebrities with Active Directory can also rename themselves. So the hits just keep on coming. So we've talked a lot about software and service desk and IT, and we've said other applications. Well, what are some examples of other applications that people are actually building and using on top of JIRA today? Well, one is generic project management. We see this a lot, and talking to a lot of you yesterday, we heard this time and time again. In fact, the popularity of the Gantt chart plugins on Marketplace are a testament to the fact that people are using JIRA really for any type of project. You know, at Atlassian, it's pretty interesting because our head of risk management, they use JIRA to track all risk management in JIRA as well for Atlassian as an organization. And our head of risk management has actually become kind of a Johnny Appleseed of risk management, where she's been talking to all of the other risk managers about how she uses JIRA, having never really used JIRA before she came to Atlassian. So we have created a monster. And a lot of financial services companies that I've talked to, well, they use JIRA to actually track all their audit requirements around PCI and SOX compliance. And so they have one place where they know exactly where they stand with each of the regulations, with each of the areas they're tracking with each step of audit. And there are so many more. Human resources, recruiting, marketing, even sales. I keep wondering, you know, when someone's going to show me how they track their online dating workflow using JIRA. But I don't think that's appropriate for the marketplace, so just no sharing, keep that one to yourself. But what we're really interested in is, well, what do you do with JIRA? What are the workflows? What are the use cases? What parts of your business do you use JIRA for? So find me, find a JIRA product manager, because we love to hear your stories, because they help us orient JIRA to make those better and better. So we've had a busy last time since Summit. We've had 4 major releases from JIRA 5.1 all the way to JIRA 6.1. And that's also included hundreds of updates to our add-ons and on-demand. It's involved a new member of the JIRA family and JIRA Service Desk, and all the things we've done with JIRA Agile and JIRA Capture. And all that couldn't have been possible without your feedback. The good news is that our teams, well, they have a lot of the same goals as your teams do. We want to keep working faster. We want higher velocity. We want to deliver more customer value with every single release. We want to keep getting better and better. And we want to keep collaborating with a larger number of teams inside and outside our own organization. So what's new? What's next? Well, I wanted to give you a look into a few things that we're starting to work on. The first that I mentioned previously is, of course, scale. So even though we made a lot of great strides in JIRA 5.1 and JIRA 5.2, I've been talking with a number of you, some of our largest enterprise customers, over the past few weeks. And several of you told me, in fact, the majority of you told me, that your JIRA instance is growing 50% or more each year in terms of issues and users. And as more organizations are standardizing on JIRA, that growth is only going to accelerate. So our investment in scale is not over. We're beginning work on a new offering for JIRA for those organizations who want to centrally manage JIRA at scale. So even for small organizations, there's a path where you can go to super scale in JIRA. And this will solve a lot of the problems around scale, around high availability, provide archiving, and even some aspects of centralized user management. Next, as more and more and more teams are actually using JIRA, we want to make sure we give those project teams more power to control their own destiny. And so as a result, you see features in JIRA Service Desk that are entirely configurable by the project administrator. In fact, all of the features in JIRA Service Desk can actually be configured and controlled by the project administrator. And this is actually also something you'll see in the new version of JIRA Agile, where you can actually add other users to be an administrator on your Agile board. And this goes along with the fact that project administrators can already configure issue collectors, roles, versions, and components in JIRA. But we want to keep moving in this direction and do more. We feel like that giving project administrators the ability to make more changes in JIRA, coupled with the ability for auditing, will give project administrators the control they need for their own team, but still give JIRA administrators the visibility to know exactly what's going on in their JIRA instance. So we're really excited about this. And finally, we've given you a taste of some of the integrations, the amazing connectivity between JIRA and the rest of the Atlassian tool suite. But we don't think about it as just integrations. We think about it as a way to make a team work better together, a way to bridge the gap and make smooth transitions between different roles like product owners and developers, developers and testers. And so we're going to continue investing in this area to make sure that those handoffs are smooth and that you see less and less and think less and less about product boundaries at Atlassian, and that it's just part of making your team better every single day. So JIRA 6.1 actually shipped last week. And of course, we announced and made available JIRA Service Desk yesterday. So if you're an on-demand customer for JIRA, you already have JIRA 6.1. There's nothing you need to do. And if you'd like to try out JIRA Service Desk, you can just go to myatlassian.com and start your JIRA evaluation. If you're a download customer, both of these are available for download today as well, so you should definitely check them out. Now, much like I'm up here representing my users, you're here representing your users. Well, I didn't warn you to bring pictures of your users with you, but I at least brought some pictures of my team with me and the team that I represent. I get to be up here representing the entire JIRA team, our developers, our QA, our design, our docs, our marketing, our support, our product managers. So from all of them, I get to say thank you. So thank you from everyone in San Francisco. Thank you from everyone in Gdansk, Poland. Thank you from everyone in Sydney, Australia. This is really the team behind the scenes that deserves all the applause that you gave us. And again, the reason we do this is because we want to help you. That every day we get up thinking about how we make your teams better and better. So please, keep the feedback coming. Keep participating in early access programs and beta programs. And keep challenging us. I'm going to say that again. Keep challenging us, because we'll rise to the occasion again and again. We're really excited about the future of JIRA. Now, there is a way where you can actually help us get to know you a little bit better. Today, in the second level here, where you probably registered when you first came in, you can actually record a customer video and tell us how you use JIRA, what you love about JIRA, or even what you'd love to see us change. So feel free to take some time out and record a customer video so you can share your home videos with us, and I can bring them back to all the teams around the globe and make sure that they get a face-to-face experience with the JIRA customer. So again, thank you so much for everything over the last year, and really hope you get to enjoy the rest of Summit. Take care.